Hey my crafty friends, welcome to my craft room. I'm Annette Green, in case you didn't know that already, and this is my craft room, and no, it's not a studio with fancy lighting, so this is why I don't do this very often. It's just that the project is so big, so I wanted to start off the video this way this time, and then we'll zoom in and take a closer look at everything. But basically, we're having a little tea party here. We have a beautiful teapot, a 3-tiered cake, and cake stand, and then 4 sweet teacups with little spoons. And so everything that you see here is either made from paper, cardstock, or chipboard. And I'm going to show you everything it took to make everything. We're going to have a little tutorial on a mini album that's hiding inside the cake. So let's zoom in, get a closer look, and then let's get started. Okay, we're done looking at my face. Now we're just going to look at the projects. First of all, you will notice our beautiful little teacups, and there are 4 different ones, 4 different styles of paper. They all have these cute little spoons to go with them. And then we have a big beautiful teapot with a beautiful lid. You can see how lightweight it is, and that proves that it's made of paper and cardstock and a little bit of fancy trim. And then finally we have our 3-tiered cake. And these, again, I'll tell you the products, but these are actual boxes that open up and come apart, the top 2 tiers of the cake. This one is not, and you'll see what that actually is later. But if we take the whole thing off, you see the beautiful cake stand. And the 3-tiered cake. And so you see these handles here. This actually lifts off the second box. And remember the mini album that I mentioned? There it is there. So this is what we're going to learn how to make today, but I'm going to give you all the details for everything that I made here as well. Okay, let's begin with the SVG files that I did use, and if you'd like you can skip this part and scrub ahead to the mini album tutorial. That won't offend me at all. I understand perfectly. So here we have everything that I made is from svgcuts.com, and there are several different files that I did use. They have some wonderful bundles, but I stuck with the Tea for You and Me is the name of this file, and it has all these things in it. There's a different looking tea kettle here, there's a little tea box, there's another little box back here, there's a card, and the teacup, as you can see there. And here's a little closer look at the teacup and their advertising on their website. So they've got little candies in theirs, and they've tied a little bow on the spoon. So that's where the cups come from. And then for this awesome teapot, which is just amazing the way it is engineered. This is also from SVG Cuts, and it's from the Honeybee Tea collection. And this bundle, as you see, there's the teapot. It has a little box like with a bee on it. I think this is a little card, and then there's a little cake pop box and another card. So there's a close-up of their teapot that they advertise. Beautiful. And then finally the cake stand, not the cake, but the cake stand comes from Mr. and Mrs. And this is what this looks like. It has the cake stand, big beautiful gift bag, a small little basket, and I think this little tea light and this card. So again, here's a close-up. I like to print these out off the website so I have a visual to go by as I build it, but there's the cake stand. Okay, as far as products that I used, like I mentioned at the top, this is a Graphic 45 product. It's a stacking circle box set. There are 2 boxes in here, as you can see from the picture. The middle layer of my cake and the top layer are these boxes here from Graphic 45. The handles that you saw are also from them, the metal handle set. There's actually 4, and I use the smaller sized, and I put the 2 larger ones aside for another project. I used Graphic 45's ephemera assortment on the Alice's Tea Party. That's what all this paper is their Alice's Tea Party collection. So you will see in the mini album exclusively where I use the ephemera assortment or die cut assortment. I used for the album the craft chipboard sheets from Graphic 45. The weight on this is 32 point, and this is a pack of 10. And of course, like I mentioned, Alice's Tea Party collection. This is the 12 by 12 collection. I used some of the stickers in here, and there's those die cut assortments I just showed you, and a lot of the paper. And I did have some left over, believe it or not, after all these projects, because I supplemented in with the 12 by 12 patterns and solids in Alice's Tea Party as well. So that came in very handy for getting the maximum out of that collection and using all the papers. Now, flowers. I have a lot of flowers, you guys, in my stash. I wouldn't run out and buy all these flowers, but because I had them, I used them. I just have, you know, random white roses in different styles. I had these from Little Birdie Crafts that I just used as filler. We'll take a look again. These are from Graphic 45, all 3 different color sets. I used the peach, the ivory, and then the light blue, and then some trim. And this is just one package of trim. I have another package that's a lot of the peach ribbons that I used. Here it is, right here. I've had this forever. It's one of those spools that had a whole bunch of different ones on them. I think this came from Michael's probably like 5+ years ago. So I just, you know, pull from my stash on a lot of things like that. Even the little gems on the top. They're just, you know, pearl gems I've had forever in my goodies. And you can see the flowers and how they're all arranged on the top there, and the trims and the ribbons and all that stuff. And now I think we are ready to get into this little mini album. And at this point, I will go into voiceover mode and take you through all the steps to create it. But let's take a quick spin through it first. Let's get nice and close, take a peek. So much of this is the die cut assortment, the ephemera assortment, which makes so quick work of embellishing the front of an album like this. The only thing that I used here that you will see that I haven't mentioned at all is I did use a doily die back here. You could use an actual doily, but I just happen to have one, and I do show in the video exactly the die that I used and the company that makes it. So here's our front and our spine in the back. This is just one of the big stickers, and you can see I've added the trim around the whole album. Peach on the back side, blue on the front. And then we have our sweet little round album. And this is something that I created on my Cricut, and I'm pretty sure because I created it within Cricut Design Space that I am able to share this file with you. And it's basically the cover, the spine, and then all the page circles, because they're just a little bit smaller than the cover and back cover. So I am going to put that in the description below if I am able to share that link with you. And I think I can. So here's our inside front cover. You can see it's a little pocket and got a little label there. And then I use the paper collection to make a cute little accordion fold out. Just something fun you could journal in or put pictures in. You can put the date here of your tea party. This is a little photo mat cut from the paper. I'll give you all the measures as we go through the tutorial, but here is a large die cut assortment. I did a little altering, you'll see in the video, to get that to fit and not hang off the edge. But that just tucks right in there. And a lot of the die cut assortment here. This is included as well. These are just fussy cuts to kind of further embellish the page, but you have a nice little photo mat here. A tool that I did use on the corners is from We Are Memory Keepers. It's the Crocodile line, and it's the stub punch, stub and scallop. If you don't have that, you can always use a small circle punch and just stick it the corner of the paper in there and nip that off. And I've added foam tape to pop things up and add extra dimension, of course. And this little spread, it's got our cute little rabbit, and he's late. Everything's popped up there. We have a nice little photo mat over a die cut piece, another photo mat here. This could be for journaling, this could be for a photo, whatever you want to do. Okay, and here's another spread. We've got our little crazy lady here. She's got her hot tea going, always time for tea. Little journaling place, little photo mat here. And there's Alice at the end with her little tea party banner. These wonderful die cut assortments where you can just kind of tuck your photo in here or write some journaling. One of the stickers I created into, was this a sticker or is this a die cut assortment? I think this is the die cut assortment. I made it into a little pocket just by gluing it on 3 sides and made a sweet little tag to go in there with some journaling, and popped up our little stickers with some foam tape to give it dimension. And then this is our last page. The inside back cover is also a pocket, just like the front. Super easy. Got a big photo mat here. And then rather than doing another accordion, I just cut apart those sweet cards that are in that particular page, and I did the same photo mats here for journaling or photos. And then we finish it off with a little sticker and a little bit of trim. And we tie this off. I used some seam binding ribbon, just some ivory. Of course, you could really go crazy and use a bunch of different ones and make it really cute. So take our little cake here, tuck it right in there, put the lid on, and we'll put that back on our cake stand, but there it is again. Really cute, right? Just real quick, I wanted to share, this is the floral foam that I used for the base of the cake, and then here are those 2 Graphic 45 boxes that I was telling you about. You could put candies or something small in the top box, and then this is where we will put the mini album, which we will do now. Like I mentioned, I used the chipboard from Graphic 45 to cut my album pieces. I have used the Cricut, but if you don't have a Cricut machine, you can cut 2 circles at 5 3/8 in diameter and cut off a 1/2 inch off the edge of both, and then a spine piece that measures 1 1/4 by 3 1/4. Now to wrap our covers, I'm going to use this sheet. It's called Fantasy, and I want to use the heart side. So I'm just going to cut it down to about 6 1/2 by the 12. And I want excess around here so we can wrap this later, as you'll see. So I'm going to lay this face down and get my pieces in order. And you have to remember that those hearts are lined up on the other side, so you want to make sure that you have these pieces nice and straight when you glue them down, and I'm just using some art glitter glue here to adhere them in place. And you'll see here that I'm using a little bit of a spacing bar. It's just a tool that I happen to have. It puts about a fat 1/16 to an 1/8 of an inch almost of spacing. I just kind of am checking it there. The main thing is you want to be able to open and close your book easily. Now I'm trimming around about a 1/2 of an inch extra all the way around. Next you'll want to start making some little snips, and I'm not snipping right up to the chipboard, but just a little bit away from it, about a 1/16 of an inch away, and I'm going to do this all the way around, and eventually these will all fold in. Alright, so starting here above the spine area, I'm going to fold a single flap. You notice I didn't make a bunch of cuts there, and I'm just burnishing this really well on the flat edge and the top edge. And then I will work my way around and probably just do 2, 3, or 4 of these at a time and hold them just for a bit. Just wrap them around nice and tight, and they will overlap just very slightly. And you may have little spots like that, but just make sure, yeah, and you use your bone folder to really smooth that edge. That's kind of important. That's a nice finishing touch. And this is how it's looking so far, so just continue on around until you get all your little tabs glued down and burnished really well. To create the inner spine, we're going to cut that same paper. This time it's going to be 8.5 by 3.25. And we're going to do a lot of scoring here. So let's start with it in our scoreboard, flush at the top and left, and we're going to score at 1.25, 1.75, 2.25, 2.5, then 3, 3.5, 3.75, 4.25, 4.75, 5, 5.5, 6, and then 6.25, 6.75, and your last one will be at 7.25. We'll then take this piece and we will fold together into a mountain all those 1/2 inch folds or score lines. So you'll basically have 1/4 of an inch in between that will remain flat, and then you should have 5 of these 1/2 inch high mountains. Now we want to adhere those 1/2 inch mountains together, nice and flat. So I'm putting some double-sided adhesive tape. I'm using the 3/8 inch wide by Elizabeth Craft Designs. 1/2 inch wide is a little bit too wide since each of these mountains are 1/2 inch wide. You want to go just a little bit shorter than that. That's why I use the 3/8. So as you can see, I'm only putting it on one side. That's all you need of the 1/2 inch high area, because you're just going to sandwich them together. Once you get tape on all of those areas, just burnish that really, really well and then trim off anything that's hanging off, any excess. And then you'll simply peel and stick those 1/2 inch mountains closed, nice and straight like that. And if you're doing it right, you'll start to see the pattern of the 1/4 inch spacing in between each 1/2 inch mountain, nice and flat like that. And this is what we want in the end, 5 of those 1/2 inch mountains. And now we're just going to burnish these down on both directions, just so they turn and flip in your book easily. And so the point is that we will get this in the middle of our spine. Okay, so now I've put a lot of double-sided adhesive on the back. I'm burnishing that down really, really well. And then I'll peel all this up and just try to make sure I'm all lined up in the center there with my 5 mountains. And the excess will go onto the front cover and back cover. So just press that down really well. And keep working those mountain hinges back and forth, back and forth. See how easily they turn? Okay, and one last step, I kind of run my bone folder in between the spacing of the cover chipboard and the spine chipboard through this hinge system, just to make sure that my covers will fold in nice and neat. For a closure for my album, I'm going to use some seam binding ribbon. I use about 16 inches for each piece, and I'm just using some fabric glue here. And I'm going to just overhang about 1.5 inches inside of the inside front and inside back covers, making sure that they are lined up with each other. You can check this by closing the album real quickly before the glue dries. And then we will cover this whole thing up with this paper and then this pocket. And so that's the same size circle, only it's been cut to 2 3/8 inch tall. And to make this into a pocket, we'll just put glue on those 3 edges and leave the top open so we can get stuff in there, and repeat that on the other side. Onto my hinges, I have added that same 3/8 inch double-sided adhesive, and as you can see, I have not applied it down to the base of the hinge. I've kept it up toward the top of each one of those, and that's important for later, so these still fold nicely. So next you want to select the papers that you want for your pages, and you have to make sure that these circles are just a little smaller. So these are 5 1/4 inches this time as opposed to 5 3/8. So just a little bit smaller, and you'll still trim off that inner edge like before. And just to get a look at the papers that I selected for my pages, the first one will be that checkered paper. And then you will be adhering these back to back, so I will have a blue spread next, and then green, and so forth. And simply, I just peel off the adhesive backing and start adhering my pages. I'm careful not to go all the way to the base, but just a little bit above it, like I did with the adhesive tape. And then just burnish that down and continue on adding pages. Of course, you'll have tape here, but you'll have to add more adhesive on the back of your circle to put this page down. And now you can check your pages. If you have anything that's out of line, you can just trim it off a little bit. And then don't forget to just re-ink those edges to make it look nice and neat. Here I am picking out my embellishments for the front cover just so I know what I want to leave for the end. And I'm going to skip the front cover and just put these pieces aside for now and start building my pages. Now you can see over here to the left as I swing the camera, I just lay out all my die cut pieces so I know everything I have to work with. It keeps things super easy and helpful as I design. The paper named Dreamy, I've just cut a row of these playing cards to 12 inches long. And as you can see, I'm not really like lining up and scoring so much as I am scoring in between the cards. So I'm just using my scoreboard as a channel to do that scoring. But as I fold in an accordion style, you'll see I have excess that I'll just have to trim off after. I've used a small corner rounder to go around all 4 corners of the whole accordion piece, and then on the inside I have inked all the edges, and I'll be adding some photo mats in here. It's some pretty trim to the inside front and back cover pockets, and some photo mats that measure 2 1/4 by 3 1/4 out of this paper for each of those panels in my accordion fold out. And then finally I will add a little label that's one of the die cuts. I'm just going to cut off that little loop over there and re-ink that edge. This photo mat is 3 by 4, so the smaller one is going to be 2 3/4 by 3 3/4. And I've used that stub punch on the corners that I mentioned earlier. So most of my photo mats are going to be that size, and here's that pretty die cut. Now see how it hangs off? I'm just going to trim that a little bit, and then when I put adhesive, I'm just going to be very strategic. So this is a tuck spot for my photo mat. And just to add something to the top of that photo mat so you have something to grab onto to pull it out, I've taken one of the circle stickers and added it to the center top there, and I'm going to use another one of the same size and just sandwich it onto the back side. Okay, and flipping to the next page, I've got this die cut piece I'm going to put on a scrap of this paper. I've selected a few other die cut pieces here, and I'm just going to adhere this pretty frame, this oval frame, onto that paper. And this will be a great journaling place with that tan paper underneath. So I'm just going to adhere this to it, and then you'll see that I will cut around very closely, but leaving a little bit of edge of that tan paper. So I'm laying out pieces, getting things ready. I'm going to layer some things underneath this frame. Other things will be popped up with foam tape. And here I have fussy cut out a couple of flowers from one of the papers. I will trim those on the arc of the paper, of course, or the page, and re-ink those edges. And my little guy coming up here with his little hat, he's all popped up with foam tape, as well as that second ticket, just to add that extra bit of dimension. On the facing page, I'm using that same size for my photo mats, and you can see I'm popping up some elements from the die cuts. I've also added more fussy cut flowers and a heart there. I'm just sort of building a little bit around that frame to make it pretty. And for the next page, sometimes I work on the right, sometimes I work on the left, I just never know. I'm covering up this particular piece with some of that same tan paper I've been using. This is one of the die cuts. I just wanted to have a little bit of journaling on every page, or at least one of the alternate pages. So I have covered up what was there, and this is going to be a pretty place for that. And you can see I have a lot of foam tape on the back of my little clock piece there that I'm going to pop up, and I'll just continue to layer items on this page. Finish off this page, I have added 2 of these pretty pink flowers. I'm trimming this one a little bit and just kind of tucking them where they fit, just to get that page looking more finished. And on the facing page, I have another one of those double photo mats of the same size, and I'm just taking one of the stickers and running it right through the center of this page, and then I'll layer these together and go right over the top of that. On to the next spread. I did another one of these journaling places by adding some of that tan paper over this pretty die cut frame. And I'm going to put that on this left page here, and we have our crazy lady here all popped up with foam tape ready to go. So we'll get these items on here. You can see I added a little creamer picture down there at the bottom of that left page. And I am cutting apart this sticker just as a decorative treatment on the top and bottom of this particular photo mat. Once again, it's the same size, the 3x4 and the 2 3/4 by 3 3/4. And I'm just getting those on so they hang off the top and the bottom a little bit, just as something different to do, give it a little bit of a decorative treatment. And now I've used 2 of the skinny little stickers to adorn the top and bottom of this page. Just trimming them off to match the page, and then I'll re-ink those edges. And just as a little decorative treatment, I've added one of these small stickers to a scrap piece of this blue paper. And I'm just using a 1/2 inch circle punch behind it just to give it a little more dimension, add a little bit to the size of that sticker, and then I'll just stick that to the right of our photo mat. Moving on to the next page, I am also using some sticker borders here, and I've run 2 of them together slightly off center, re-inking those edges after I trim them. And then this photo mat is just a little bit smaller, I think, so it fits vertically. I'll put that right through the center. And we have our Alice here with her little tea party banner. We've popped her up with foam tape, and we're going to add these little flourishes from the die cut assortment and strategically put our glue so that we can still get a photo behind there. So I'll add this one to the bottom, and then you'll see I will add one to the top as well. So I've created a small tag there. For my journaling, I'm going to do the same treatment with a couple of these circle stickers onto some blue paper. I'm going to put those on the top of my little tag so it has a pulling point, because I will be sticking this little tag inside of a pocket that we're going to make. So I'm going to do this to both sides. And then our pocket is one of the die cut assortment pieces, and we'll just adhere that on 3 sides. Liquid glue is always best. Let that dry, and then our tag will go in that pocket. And I added a few more circles and some other stickers, and this page is done. Okay, we're on our last page. I am cutting one of these die cut pieces apart just for a little decorative treatment below our photo mat, same size as we've been doing. Here is a sticker border that I'm cutting into little like ribbon pennants to put across the top. I'm cutting them all at different lengths. I think I originally wanted to put 2, and then I decided to put more, and I ended up with 5, because you always want to do like an odd number. So you will see how I will continue to add and build this page. And there's the finished page there. And now we're moving on to the inside back cover. And I've added a little sticker there. And this time, instead of the accordion, I just made 4 of the cards with the same size photo mats as I did on the inside front cover. And I had 4 more, but they are so tight, I think I'll just leave those and keep the 4 in there only. Okay, now we can go back to decorating the front cover. So as you can see, I have adhered this die cut piece to some blue paper. I am trimming around it. This is just so we have that nice blue color showing through that clock piece, and it just makes it stand out that much more on our background. I'll ink those edges, of course, to make that look nice and neat and tidy. And that will go on our front cover up in that upper left with our cute little rabbit and our other pieces. And I will pop some pieces up with foam tape, and others will go flat on the cover. And I decided to add this little doily to the back. It's from Cottage Cuts, and if you want a freeze frame right there, you'll see all the details, and I'll also try to link that in the description. But now I'm just going to build my cover, all my elements, and get this finished. Okay, of course we're going to pop up that rabbit on the front to really make it stand out and have dimension. We'll get our other elements on here, this teapot. And then I'll start popping up a teacup here and a heart there, just to give it a little bit of interest. And of course, overlapping elements slightly rather than having everything spaced out is always more pleasing to the eye. And like you saw at the beginning, I added some trim around the outside edge of the blue, and I added that die cut piece to the spine and some peach ribbon on the back side. Alrighty, and that was our tutorial for the round mini album. Here are the projects once again: the teapot, the cups, and the 3-tiered cake, of course, on the beautiful cake stand. You guys, these items are going in my Etsy shop. I love to make things, but I don't have room to store things. So I am going to be listing the teapot and the 4 teacups as one listing in my Etsy shop, which I will link below. And then the 3-tiered cake, the cake stand, and the album will be another listing. So watch for that very soon in the next day or two. Today is December the 20th, 2021. Almost Christmas, you guys. This will make a very nice present for somebody who loves tea and Alice's tea party. So thanks for watching. I hope you enjoyed it, and I will see you soon. Take care and Merry Christmas.